There are roller coasters that you've been on more times than you can count. And then there are ones that you dream about riding someday. Every coaster enthusiast has their bucket list. But unfortunately, there are coasters that permanently close forever before some fans ever get the chance of going on them. The recent closure of Mindbender at Galaxyland Amusement Park in Alberta, Canada, got us thinking about all the bucket list coasters that we've missed out on over the years. We became roller coaster enthusiasts in 1999, at the time of an insane boom in roller coaster construction. At our home park of Six Flags Magic Mountain, Goliath was going up. Over at Cedar Point, the world's first Giga coaster, Millennium Force, was under construction at the same time, as well as Son of Beast at Kings Island, the tallest and fastest wooden coaster in the world, and the first modern wooden coaster with a loop. What a time it was! And thanks to the internet, we could easily access content to learn about more roller coasters around the country and all around the world. Within that pool of coaster knowledge dipped a bucket that would gather a collection of coasters that we would hope to ride one day. And some of those, like Millennium Force, we did get to ride. But sadly, there are quite a few that we never got on before they met their demise. Now, there are defunct coasters such as the infamous Crystal Beach Cyclone, which operated from 1926 until 1946. But in this video, we're just going to focus on coasters that existed within our lifetime. We're old, but we're not that old. This is our list of defunct bucket list coasters that we never got to ride. One of the earliest bucket list coasters that we dreamt about riding was the Ultimate at Lightwater Valley in the UK. At the time of us learning about it, the Ultimate was still the longest coaster in the world, at a whopping 7,422 feet of track. That's longer than the Beast at Kings Island, and it's only been surpassed by Steel Dragon 2000. Now, it wasn't a tall or fast ride by any means, but it had two lifts of 102 and 107 feet, and reached a top speed of only 50 miles per hour. What made the Ultimate a bucket list coaster for us was its duration, an insane 7.5 minutes. And while each of the trains held 40 riders each, the capacity was only 400 riders per hour. Ouch. And speaking of ouch, the coaster was known for being rough and painful. I guess you could say that she was the ultimate dominatrix. And then there was Moonsault Scramble at Fujiku Highland in Japan. It stood at 230 feet and was the tallest coaster in the world from 1983 until 1996, when Fujiyama opened in the same park. It was known for pulling an insane amount of positive G's through its pretzel knot element, 7.1 to be exact. Moonsault Scramble was a work of art with the support structure that held up the pretzel knot, but it closed in early 2000 to make way for the next coaster on our list, which is do-dodonpa. And while it's technically not defunct, we wanted to ride it in its original form when it opened in 2001, the same year we started ACN, and just a couple years after becoming coaster enthusiasts. But do-dodonpa closed in 2016 for the removal of its top head element and replaced it with a vertical loop. It reopened as do-dodonpa in 2017. But with the change, we're not as excited for it and don't see it as the same coaster. We wanted to experience that sweet, sweet airtime. Do-dodonpa closed again in 2021 after an accident injured a rider. So now we might not get on it in any form. In 2004, we visited Six Flags Astroworld to knock out a few other bucket list coasters. But luck wouldn't be on our side because that day, in typical Six Flags fashion, more than half the park's coasters were closed, including 3 bucket list coasters: Ultra Twister, Batman the Escape, and Grease Lightning. Ultra Twister was a rare pipeline coaster manufactured by Togo. It originally operated at Six Flags Great Adventure and was the first and only coaster of its type in the United States. In total, only 7 were built around the world. Ultra Twister started off with a 45-degree lift hill, which was modified from the original 90 degrees. Riders ascended to a height of 97 feet before dropping 92 feet at 85 degrees and reach a top speed of 44 miles per hour, and then inverted 3 times through 3 Heartline rolls, with a switchback between the first and second. Today, only 3 pipeline coasters by Togo are left, all in Japan. It's a unique coaster type that we wish we could experience at least once before they're all gone. Batman the Escape made our list simply because it first operated at our home park, Six Flags Magic Mountain. But it was there as Shockwave for only a few years, from 1986 until 1988. I remember the ride fairly well because I made what might have been my first visit in 1988 for the debut of Ninja. However, I was only 6 years old at the time and not tall enough to ride Shockwave. The ride, built by Intamin, was one of the first stand-up roller coasters in the world, and it would have been a really cool credit to get. The last coaster from our disastrous trip to Astroworld is Grease Lightning, the only other Schwarzkopf flywheel shuttle loop still operating in the United States. Montezuma's Revenge at our home park of Knott's Berry Farm being the other. Now, it can be argued that since I've already been on Montezuma's Revenge, missing out on Grease Lightning isn't that big of a deal. But with how rare this type of coaster is, it would have been a really nice credit to get, and I especially wanted to compare it to Montezuma's Revenge. We always figured that we'd be back in the next couple years to get those 3 credits. But at the end of the following season, Astroworld closed for good. The 3 coasters mentioned were relocated to other parks, only to sit in storage for an extended period of time before being scrapped, which is just absolutely heartbreaking. In 2008, we visited King's Dominion and missed out on this next bucket list coaster by less than a year. That coaster being the S&S prototype Hypersonic XLC, which closed and was scrapped at the end of the 2007 season. The launch system used the same compressed air technology from the company's Space Shot and Turbodrop towers. Riders would rocket from 0 to 80 miles per hour in an insanely quick 1.8 seconds. This was followed by climbing 165 feet at 90 degrees before cresting a very pointy lift hill where you would be ejected from your seat before heading back down at 90 degrees. It was a very short but intense ride.
That's what she said. No time, but she did. No time!
Had it been built at its original location of Paramount's Great America here in California, we would have very likely gotten the credit. Another coaster from that 2008 trip that we missed by a year was Batman and Robin the Chiller at Six Flags Great Adventure. The ride opened in 1998 and was another one of those early coasters which piqued our interest. It was a dueling launch shuttle coaster with inversions, something that we had never seen before. When it opened, the Batman side featured 2 inversions with an inside top hat and a 0G roll, and the Robin side had 3 inversions, a Cobra roll and a 0G roll. Due to issues with the ride, the 0G rolls were removed in 2006, but it still closed for good in 2007. And now we're heading back to Japan for a coaster that closed in 2018 for a Rocky Mountain construction transformation, White Cyclone at Nagashima Spa Land. While known for not being a great ride, it was one heck of a beautiful structure to look at with its massive white wooden structure and 2 helixes. And just look at that perfectly symmetrical track crossover, an absolute work of art. Regardless of how the ride would have felt, we just wanted to see it in person. While its replacement, Hakuge, looks like an amazing ride, the beautiful lines of the original structure are gone. And finishing off the list, we go back to the first coaster mentioned, Mindbender at Galaxyland Amusement Park in Canada. This was our biggest bucket list coaster of all. It was crazy seeing pictures of a coaster that large inside of a mall. The Schwarzkopf looper stood 145 feet, had a 127-foot first drop, reached a top speed of 60 miles per hour, and pulled an insane 5.5 Gs in the last loop. It had so much awesomeness going for it that we didn't even mind its McDonald's paint scheme. I guess you could say that we were just loving everything about Mindbender. But it closed in 2021 and would never reopen. In January of this year, the park announced that it would be closed for good after 37 years. Thankfully, it's being carefully taken apart, which means that it could possibly end up at another park somewhere in the world. But it would likely be outdoors and just not the same. Or perhaps taking it apart carefully is just the Canadian thing to do. Those people are so nice. Okay, this concludes our list of bucket list coasters we never got to ride. What are some bucket list coasters that you never got to ride? Let us know down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to America's Coaster Network for more coaster content. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.